What's up, everybody? It's your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to the game according to me. We're back with a podcast about the NFL draft. We're gonna go over the first round and the picks, and we're gonna talk about those, and then we're gonna go team by team and talk about the team's collective draft. So, go ahead, sit back and relax, and just enjoy some talk about the NFL draft. Okay, football season is almost here. It is almost here. And when you get the NFL draft, you can almost taste it. That's a few months away before people will be going to training camp. And we'll be able to watch every training camp on the NFL Network. And so close to the Hall of Fame game. And the Hall of Fame, and just, football is so close. But this week we had the draft. And like I mentioned earlier, let's going to go over the entire drafts for all the teams. But first, we're going to just look at the first round, the Thursday first round draft. Look at the teams, look at the draft picks, talk about it for a little bit. Start off with Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. He was going to be the main one. All times, he was the number one pick for the longest time, since he was basically a freshman in college. He was going to come out to be the number one pick, so there was no surprise there. Jets, they just drafted Zach Wilson for BYU. No surprise here, really, especially after the Jets traded Sam Darnold to Carolina. They pretty much knew that it was going to be Zach Wilson, or there was a smoke screen of epic proportions from the Jets. And speaking of that, 49ers. A few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, 49ers traded up to the 3 pick. Most people thought it was Mac Jones. And I think it started with Chris Sims. Chris Sims, the former teammate of Kyle Shanahan, and Chris Sims thought it might be, Mac Jones. So then everybody else started talking about Mac Jones. But then a couple days before, actually probably last weekend, is when you started hearing rumors about Trey Lance, and maybe Trey Lance was going to be the pick. And that seems like who it always was. I think they said it the other night on SVP that Trey Lance was the guy we was looking for all along. But we just wasn't going to correct you that it was going to be Mac Jones. So saying Mac Jones. So Trey Lance was the pick. So they were traded up. They wanted to go get him. I think one of the things I had a big problem with, and it's starting, and it needs to be called out, because again, I understand we went through a lot of stuff last year with the whole race thing and everything like that, but I think you could definitely tell that guys like Ryan Clark, Dominique Foxworth, Marcus Spears, probably a few others, you could definitely tell that they did not want Mac Jones to go ahead of Trey Lance or Justin Fields. But it's because he was white, and we already had 2 white quarterbacks go ahead, and you can see that. You can see, because they were talking about his athleticism, and they and that trading up for Mac Jones was stupid. Well, how is it stupid? How's it stupid? If they feel like they're not going to have a chance to get Mac Jones, and they're going to try to get Mac Jones, you can tell this was kind of a race thing. And Stephen A. Smith, he's the only one that basically came out and said it. Dominique said it a little bit at the very first beginning, and he said that another guys that the tropes that are given to black quarterbacks about not being smart enough and things like that, and not being able to read defenses or intelligent enough or whatever, and he said that. So it was a black thing with them. It was not a talent thing, anything like that. So it was I didn't like it. I wanted the pick to be Mac Jones so that these guys would have to you know you know live in the whatever can be egg on their face, but it was Trey Lance, so the deal, whatever the deal is, the deal. 4 was Kyle Pitts from Florida. Most people think Kyle Pitts was either the most talented person in this draft, or he was right behind Trevor Lawrence as the second best player in this draft. So he's gonna go down with Julio Jones. There are some rumors about Falcons trading Julio Jones, but if you're talking about Calvin Ridley on one side, Julio Jones on one side, and then Kyle Pitts in the middle as a tight end, I think that's good for for the Falcons and Matt Ryan. I know there was some talk about maybe the Falcons taking a quarterback, and for the future of the Atlanta Falcons, but Matt Ryan's not bad. Matt Ryan's not bad. He's just one of these quarterbacks that kind of his I don't know what the hell. That's right. He's a damn goddamn former MVP, but sometimes he does have bad seasons. So whatever it is, but yeah, they had great time getting Florida. They got probably the best pick in the draft. The Bengals did not go for a guy to protect Joe Burrow in the first round. They went with Jamar Chase. They led from LSU, and they decided to bring those guys back up, and so it's bring those guys back up, bring those good guys together, and so we'll see where they have an automatic connection that gets more help for Joe Burrow, the passing game. We'll see what happens. It's a very interesting pick. They passed on the offensive line, worst offensive line in the league last year. The Dolphins at 6 took Jalen Waller, Alabama. Again, we're hooking up another two other former teammates, Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa. This just made sense to get him some help. The Lions took Penei Sewell from Oregon, the best offensive tackle in the draft for most people. Some people would say that it was, the Lions should have been, looking for a quarterback as well. But they traded for Jared Goff, and I think here's the thing. I think you need to let know that some people I don't know why people think Jared Goff is just this bad quarterback. He isn't. He's not this bad quarterback. Maybe he's not as good as he seemed that first season and a half with what's his face, the coach of the Rams. He's not as good as he seemed that one, but he's not bad. He's not terrible. And I think the Lions are good. They got 2 years. Jared Goff has 2 years left on his contract, and I think that's good. I think you can look at him this year. You can see what he has. See what he has. See if he is just a bad quarterback. If the coach Sean LeVay made him better, or if he is a pretty decent quarterback, and you can actually win with him. And then you have next year's draft to try to get your quarterback or something like that. And maybe they got one in this round, so we'll check later with the team by team. But this pick is interesting, especially with the guy who's the coach, Dan Campbell. He's a former tight end. He's kind of like with an offensive line coach or something like that, former offensive line coach, I think, as well. So he's someone who probably likes the hog mollies and wants to bite your kneecaps and things like that. So that was a good pick for the Lions, I think, as well. The Panthers took J.C. Horn, cornerback from Carolina. Again, we're talking about a team that has Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. They traded Teddy Bridgewater. They picked up Sam Darnold's 5th-year option. I can see why people would say, you need you should get a quarterback, but they just traded for Sam Darnold. This is again the same thing with the Lions. Same thing with the Lions. The same thing with the Panthers. it's best to see what you get with Sam Darnold this first year. And then come back next year and get a quarterback next year if you need to. But right now, just try to get the stuff around Sam Darnold, especially when I think more people believe that Sam Darnold is actually probably better than Jared Goff. So, Sam Darnold just didn't have the talent around him in the New York Jets organization to do some stuff. So, get your offensive line, get your wide receivers and things like that. Christian McCaffrey comes back healthy. Mike Davis is still there at running back as well. You're going to be, so you're going to have some talent around Sam Darnold finally and see actually what kind of quarterback he is. Does he still turn the ball over too much, or can he become less turnover prone? Number 9, Patrick Surtain, cornerback, Alabama. Again, another place where a quarterback could have went. The quarterbacks could have went. The 2 remaining quarterbacks after the first 3 have been already drafted. But the Broncos took the cornerback, Patrick Surtain. Defense there, coach and Mike Vic Fangio. So he's probably one of the guys that really he's probably one of the guys that is he's going to focus all on defense. And he knows that you need an offense, but maybe you don't need that much of an offense. He was here that with the Chicago Bears and a couple of years ago that went 12-4, won the division. Great defense. Offense was very limited. Especially when we had Mitch Trubisky as quarterback. So they traded with the Panthers for Teddy Bridgewater. So they have him. They have Drew Lock, who is still young, and shouldn't just not give up on Drew Lock. Make them compete, and we'll see what that is. And then also some rumors that maybe they are drafting, for the Packers, and then they're going to try to trade the Packers for Aaron Rodgers, which we will come to later on when we get to the Green Bay Packers on the team by team side. But yeah, Patrick Surtain, good pick. He was looked to be the number 1 cornerback in the draft, but Jesse Horn actually was taken by the Panthers. So, but yeah, defensive coach. This good pick. I don't think the Broncos needed to take a quarterback, and so Patrick Surtain went there instead. Number 10. It was a trade between this was a Cowboys pick, and it was a trade between them and the Eagles. Eagles jumped up to get Devontae Smith ahead of New York Giants, who wanted a wide receiver as well. So when the Eagles jumped up to take Alabama, that caused once again, I believe Devontae Smith was there with Jalen Hurts. I'm not sure in Alabama. I'm not sure, but I think that's another reconciliation with teammates. So there we go. For the 3rd time within the first 10 picks, teammates reunite in the NFL. And then that caused Ryan Pace of the Chicago Bears to call Gettleman of the New York Giants, and they gave up a 4th, 2 picks next year, 2 picks in this draft, including 1 first rounder next year, and of course the 20 pick this year, jumped up to 11 to the Giants to take Justin Fields, quarterback of Ohio State. And depending on the person and the player, this pick this pick was mostly loved by everybody. They loved the fact that people went up and Bears got their quarterback. There's some out there that are saying that this is the place where quarterbacks go to die. And Justin Fields, who seemingly has all the talent in the world, may see all that talent just somehow sucked out of him by coming to the Bears. And as a Bears fan, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. Because it just seems like that's what happens here. We don't have good quarterbacks. When a quarterback has a good year here, it's followed up by bad years, or it's or whatever it is. It just wasn't. Eric Kramer. 1995, he had a tremendous year, 1995, and then '96 something happened, and it wasn't the same. And then they traded for Rick Meyer, and Rick Meyer wasn't in '97, and it wasn't good when we went back to Eric Kramer. So it's just blows my mind. It really does. So, but nevertheless, Justin Fields is here as a Bear, and I thought it was a jump. I would have been happy with Mac Jones. I would have been happy with Mac Jones. Just, but I'm also glad in one way so that we can get rid of this narrative of the Bears, and in particular Ryan Pace, kind of being maybe a racist because he didn't draft Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in 2017, and he passed on Teddy Bridgewater and Cam Newton, last year for Nick Foles. So we can stop that. We can stop that narrative and talk about Justin Fields and just be there. So and he'll sit behind Andy Dalton hopefully, and he'll learn. Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. I think that was a really good pick with Sean Lee retiring and Leighton Vander Esch injury prone. They just had to go with another linebacker, and Jalen Smith is still there. I think he can still be an effective linebacker as well. Chargers to protect Justin Herbert. They went and got Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle at Northwestern. He's going to immediately be a starter at left tackle there for the Chargers. That was a good pick. Jets with their second pick took Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive lineman for USC. So the Jets taking their quarterback and they're building their offensive line around him to protect him so that he does not deal with what Sam Darnold deal with. This is a new whole new front office, coach and head coach, I think so. To do. And then look who fell to the Patriots at 15. Mac Jones of Alabama. The guy who has, been talked about to be Tom Brady-esque, at least in stature and in other things, accuracy and things like that, goes to the Patriots. And when you believe it, it's going to be interesting to see what goes down with him and the Patriots. So I'm enjoying that. Cam is there, Jarrett Stidham is there. So who knows what would happen? I would think just like many other ones, just like many other things. Just like with the 49ers, just like with the Bears. Mac Jones will probably be sitting. They will probably start the veteran, who is what's his face, who is Cam Newton. They'll probably start the veteran, but then they'll have, if they need to, they'll try out. And if it comes around, they'll probably try out Mac Jones, or they may make him sit into and let him, all season. That might be the best for all the three quarterbacks. I think Trevor Lawrence should play. I think Zach Wilson should play. I know there's a rumor out there that the Jaguars are going to, start Mike Glennon, I guess, or something like that. But I don't think. I think Trevor Lawrence should play from day one, and I think Zach Wilson should play from day one. I think Trey Lance for the 49ers, they have Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the Bears had Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, and then the Patriots have Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham. I think those three quarterbacks should sit, and they should watch and learn, and they should only play if they have to. Only play if they have to. So I think that's a better part for that. I think Mac Jones would probably be best to sit. It's probably going to be a totally different offense from what Mac Jones is, Cam Newton is, because of who each of them are as the quarterback. How Cam Newton is a more of a, obviously, running quarterback. Mac Jones is a drop back passer, but that still doesn't mean he can't learn from Cam Newton. The Cardinals took Xavier Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. The Raiders took Alex Leatherwood, offensive lineman from Alabama. There was, So a lot of people say that he was more of a second or third round guy, went to first the Raiders, and they seem to do that. They with Mayock and Gruden, they seem to take the like the second rounders and third rounders and make them first rounders. But I guess if your ranking has them there, you take them. I guess that's just the way it is. The Dolphins took Julian Phillips, an edge rush out of Miami, with their second pick. The Washington took Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky. Ron Rivera continuing to build their defense. They could have took they could have took they need a quarterback. Some people were saying that if the quarterbacks would have dropped to them, or if they would trade up, to get a quarterback, they could have done so, but they decided to stay put. Giants were from the trade with the Bears. They took Tony, the wide receiver out of Florida, helping out Daniel Jones more. This is Daniel Jones' year to, as they say, piss or get off the pot. He's shown over his first 2 years that he's got some ability. He's got some ability to throw the football. He's got some mobility as well. We all remember that game on Thursday Night Football against the Eagles where he ran as long as hell but didn't fail before he got to the end zone. So he's there. Kwity Paye. He was an edge rusher from Michigan. He went to the Colts in 21. The Titans took Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech at 22. The Vikings, who needed offensive line help, took Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. The Steelers took the first running back of the first round, Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. And I'm saying here, now, I am not one of these people. I am not Mel Kiper. I am not Todd McShay. I am not a lot of people. You can take running backs in the first round. It depends on need, depends on situation, it depends on how good the running back is. And I think Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley and the guy in Dallas has proven, that they were first round picks and they were worthy of first round picks. Last year the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, they took a running back with the last pick of the first round, and he was the only running back taken, and that's because that I guess that's because they had him as the best player available, so they decided to take the best player available, which was okay. So, and then 25th, Jaguars reunited. This is the fourth time. Travis Etienne with Trevor Lawrence. It comes up. So we'll see if we'll see what they have. The Jaguars have the guy there from last year who ran for 1,000 yards. He was a free agent. He was not drafted. But I think Travis Etienne could be a home run hitter. That guy was more of a power back. This is a more home run hitter. And in this league, maybe power backs are good. You need a home run hitter, I think. You really do. You need a home run hitter to be in an elite offense. So, and I think Travis Etienne could be that guy for the Jaguars. Greg Newsome the second, Chicago guy from Northwestern, went to the Browns at 26. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver from Minnesota, went to the Ravens at 27. Rashad Bateman's a big guy, 6'2", 6'3", that could help Lamar Jackson in the passing game. Because a couple of receivers they have are maybe on the smaller side. I know Hollywood Brown, I think it's about 5'11". So he could be your go up and get him guy. Saints went with Peyton Turner, the edge rusher out of Houston. Packers went Eric Stokes, cornerback from Georgia. They have gone, last 9 out of 10 picks have been defense. Dan Orlovsky talked about 9 out of 10 picks have been defense. The only time they went offense was take Jordan Love last year, and that seems to have pissed off Aaron Rodgers. The Bills, Gregory Rousseau, edge rusher from the Hurricanes, went to the Bills. The Bills definitely need help on the defense to rush the passer. They needed edge rush help and they needed running back help because I think Devin Singletary and Zach Moss were okay running backs, but again, they need somebody to take the edge off of for Josh Allen. Josh Allen can't be, he can't be the passer and the runner. So and then they need to try to get to the quarterback. They was able to kind of get to Lamar Jackson, even so they knocked him out of the game. Right, that was them, right? That was Buffalo, right? I believe that was them. But they couldn't get to what's his face, to Patrick Mahomes, and then you're gonna have to try to get to Patrick Mahomes, as we saw in the Super Bowl, to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. With that being said, the Ravens, pick that they got from the Chiefs from trading Orlando Brown Jr. to them is Jason Owe, another edge rusher from Penn State. So they're gonna have good pass rushers again. They're doing the same thing. We need to get to Josh Allen. We need to get to Patrick Mahomes. We need to get to Justin Herbert. So they went and got an edge rusher, and then the Buccaneers took a edge rusher as well, Joe Tryon from Washington. So that was the first round. It was a pretty crazy first round. And it's just not me being a Bears fan. It's the thing. It's the trade up. When you have someone down at 20 trading up to 11, and they get a quarterback like that, it is fun. It is exciting, and it's something that it has breathed life into a fan base that was almost DOA. If that makes sense. Because DOA is dead on arrival, and I don't know if we were going anywhere as a fan base. But it seemed like that the Bears fan base was just not good, and it not feeling that good. Did not want anything that was happening. Did not not want Andy Dalton or anything like that. And they're still gonna get Andy Dalton because, again, like I said, I do think that Matt Nagy, who was there with the Chiefs when they took Patrick Mahomes and let him sit behind Alex Smith, and I think they're going to do the same thing here with Justin Fields. So, but it was kind of pretty amazing. So, but yeah, we've got a crazy, amazing first round, and particularly in the first half. In the first half of the first round, the second half was, it was kind of a little bit less than the first half. There was a exciting in the first half. So then we can see how these quarterbacks are going to do. History says that not all 5 of these quarterbacks are going to be hits, but wouldn't it be something if that was the case? Okay, now we go team by team. We're going to go in alphabetical order. Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. So Arizona Cardinals looks like 7 picks. They went with Zaven Collins, Rondale Moore from wide receiver Purdue, Marco Wilson, a cornerback from Florida, Victor Dimukic, let's screw that up, an edge rusher from Duke, Ted Gowan, a quarterback from UCF, James Wiggins, a safety from Cincinnati, and Michael Manet, the cornerback from center from Penn State. So from what it says up at the top, their needs were cornerback, wide receiver, O-line, safety, and running back. So it looks like they got the safety and they got the cornerback. They got a offensive lineman from Penn State. They did not get the running back. Looks like they may look for one of them to free agency, or they may stick with the guys that they have. They may like them a lot. Says here, and this is like from NFL.com. So, the Cardinals signed Malcolm Butler and AJ Green to 1-year deals, but that shouldn't keep them from finding longer-term replacements for Patrick Peterson, and a speedy receiver for Cal Murray, and that's what they got with Rondale Moore speed receiver, and that's what they get with the cornerback, Tay Gowan, and Marco Wilson. So, then let's check out the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about them getting Kyle Pitts in the first round. Their needs were defensive line, cornerback, offensive line, safety, and quarterback. The Falcons' biggest holes are in defense, where they're shopping for edge rush help yet again. A chance to pluck Matt Ryan's eventual successor with their top pick will be tempting, though. They did not go that route, as we talked about. But here's who they did get. Kyle Pitts, Richie Grant, safety for USC in the second round. Third round, Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle from Michigan. 2 fourth-round picks, Darren Hall, cornerback from San Diego State, and Drew Dowman, a center from Stanford. 3 fifth-round picks, Taquan Graham, defensive tackle from Texas. Added Dicumbo Gonley from Notre Dame, a defensive end. Avery Williams, a cornerback from Boise State. And then in the sixth round, their last pick, Frank Darby, wide receiver from Arizona. So they did not select their successor for Matt Ryan in this round. And again, I'm okay with that. I don't think Matt Ryan's bad. I don't think he's falling off the cliff. I think Matt Ryan can still probably play this league and play for another couple more years. So why not go ahead and build what you can build, with this team? And I mentioned earlier, they also have Hunter Henry as a tight end. So they've got 2 tight ends. They've got two pretty good tight ends now. 2 good running back. 2 good wide receivers, and they have a few running backs. They do have Todd Gurley. They have, I think his name is Ish Smith, or Ish Smith. I don't know, but they've got guys. So I think they can compete. They got talent. I just think the Atlanta Falcons were. They just didn't see. I don't know why it can happen. So I don't know why it can happen for them. Baltimore Ravens. Here we are. To the top needs: linebacker, offensive line, safety, and wide receiver. It says here the cupboard is looking a little bare off the edge. Replacing Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue is essential. As for Lamar Jackson's supporting cast, the signings of Sammy Watkins and Kevin Zeitler shouldn't prevent Baltimore from adding more help in the receiving corps and offensive line, especially with the departure of Orlando Brown. Like I said, mentioned earlier, they traded him to the Chiefs for the 31st pick overall and some other picks as well. So here we go. We're talking about Rashad Bateman and Adafe Owe, 2 first-round picks. Then they drafted Ben Cleveland, a guard from Georgia, in the 3rd round. Brandon Stevens, a cornerback from the Methodist, also in the 3rd round. 4th round, another wide receiver, Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State. They got in the 5th round, Sean Wade, a quarterback from Ohio State. And then other 5th round, they got Dalen Hayes, edge rusher from Notre Dame. That's still, I think Dalen Hayes, I'm a Notre Dame fan as well. Dalen Hayes was really good. I think he could probably be one of the steals for this draft. And then also in the 5th round, of course they would. They took a goddamn fullback, Ben Mason, fullback from Michigan, who coaches Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh's brother. So of course the Harbaughs are going to go full into fullback mode. So yeah, they did not get their safety, which was a need according to this. They got an offensive lineman, and they got a couple edge rushers. So we'll see. Baltimore Ravens will continue to do. I would say this: Baltimore Ravens do draft well. They do draft well. So it's always going to be interesting to see how they do with their draft picks, and they should be fighting once again for a playoff spot. The Buffalo Bills. Top needs: defensive line, cornerback, tight end, running back, offensive line. It says the Bills could only muster 1 sack and 2 other QB hits in their AFC Championship game loss to the Chiefs. who's operating with an injury-plagued offensive line. GM Brandon Beane has to add more juice to the pass defense, and that's correct. We can't forget that the Chiefs' offensive line was injured, and was decimated in that, by the first game against the Cleveland Browns, they lost some players there, and then. And then Buffalo couldn't do nothing with it, and we saw what Tampa Bay did with their talent. So obviously, we remember Greg Rousseau, edge rusher from Miami, Florida. Boogie Basham is a defensive end from Wake Forest in the second round. Round 3, they went Spencer Brown, an offensive tackle from Northern Iowa, and pick 5, they went Tommy Doyle, an offensive tackle from Miami of Ohio. They are going to continue to protect Josh Allen, and that's a good thing. Josh Allen can only get better. Round 6, they went with Marquez Stevenson from Houston. In round 6, they went with Damar Hamlin, safety from Pittsburgh. Their third pick in round 6, they went with Rashad Wildgoose, cornerback from Wisconsin. And in round 7, they went with Jack Anderson, the guard from Texas Tech. So they're continuing to try to pick and protect Josh Allen, which is rightfully so. They got an edge rusher and another defensive end, to help on their defensive line. They did get a cornerback in the 6th round. They did not get a tight end or a running back. So hopefully they will try to find something, to get them that help there at running back, because I do think that they need help there. Carolina is next. Their needs: offensive line, cornerback, wide receiver, safety, tight end. After spending all their picks on defensive players a year ago, a more diversified approach is in order for Carolina. So let's see what they did. They went defense first round with J.C. Horn. Second round, they went different. Terrence Marshall Jr., wide receiver from LSU. In third round, for their first pick, they went with offensive tackle Brady Christensen from Brigham Young. There to help protect. They also, in the third round, get Tommy Tremble, a tight end from Notre Dame. Tommy Tremble was more of a blocking tight end. He could be more of an H-back too, so he'll be doing some blocking for not only Christian McCaffrey, but probably some blocking in the passing game as well. And he can catch the ball too. He'll have to work on that, I think. In round 4, they went with Chuba Hubbard, a running back from Oklahoma State. Maybe someone there to back up Christian McCaffrey. And maybe even replace him. Maybe at some point they might, deem to trade or release Christian McCaffrey, especially if he continues to be injured. Because he seemed like he was not injured, and then last year was just an injury-riddled season, especially after signing that's the big contract. Devion Nixon, a defensive tackle of Iowa, went in the 5th round. Their second 5th round pick was Keith Taylor, a cornerback from Washington. In round 6, they went. First pick was guard Deontay Brown from Alabama. Their second pick was Shi Smith, wide receiver from South Carolina. 6th round was Thomas Fletcher, a long snapper from Alabama. And on the draft, they were loving the long snapper talk. Long snappers went back to back almost, with Thomas Fletcher from Alabama, and then Cheeseman from Michigan went somewhere, I forget, but we'll come up here when he comes to it. And round 7, Phil Hoskins, defensive tackle, Kentucky. So, as we look here, they got their cornerbacks. They did not get a safety. They got a tight end. They got some offensive line help to protect Sam Darnold. And they got a wide receiver as well. Two wide receivers. So, again, this is going to be something where they decide on what they need to do. And we'll see if Carolina Panthers can, in particular, if they can make Sam Darnold, a lot better. So, I think that's something that we're going to all want to see. And, no quarterback, as I would like to say, there shouldn't have been one. See what you got in Sam Darnold. The Chicago Bears. Top needs: quarterback, offensive line, wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback. Chicago's QB situation is crying out for a young talent who can develop behind Andy Dalton. But the team's decision makers, who are in a win now mode to save their jobs, might prioritize other positions in this year's draft. And let me just say this, that's something that's nationally is a big thing. You're talking about Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy needing to save their jobs. And while I understand why some people may really just think that, I mean, to think that that's the case because of basically the Mitch Trubisky debacle that has happened. There's also a good thing where you can say that their jobs are not on the line. I mean, it would have to be an absolute total meltdown. 0 wins, 1 win, 2 win, 3 win type of season for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to be relieved of their duties. Carmen DeFalco, a radio host on ESPN 1000 in Chicago, has said that he has someone close to the organization who says that Ryan Pace is good as good. He is staying there. He is he's a family member. He's not being fired. And Tom Waddle, again, who also is on ESPN 1000 and is a former Bear, the afternoon host of Waddle and Sylvie, he has said that he feels that they're not on a hot seat. They're nowhere close, and so these are two guys who have ties to that organization one way or another. One with the source, one who are actually playing for the organization. They're telling you that these guys are safe guys. So I think that's something maybe that the national media needs to kind of pick up on, and I'm hoping maybe over the next week, as maybe these guys talk to the national media about the draft picks, they'll let them know that I don't think that that's going to happen. So let's go. It's Justin Fields, Ohio State. We talked about that. In round 2, they went with Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle for Oklahoma State. And round 5, they went with Larry Borum, a guard in Missouri. Round 6, they went with Khalil Herbert, running back from Virginia Tech. Daz Newsome, the second pick, wide receiver, North Carolina. And their last pick in the 6th round, Thomas Graham, a cornerback for Oregon. And then in the 7th pick, the 7th round, or the 7th pick, actually it is the 7th pick. Yes, it is. It's the 7th pick in the 7th round, or whatever, you know what I mean. They went with Kairis Tonanga, defensive tackle for Brigham Young. So I think here's the needs that they were needing were quarterback and offensive line, wide receiver, linebacker, and cornerback. It looks like that they got the quarterback, they got the receiver, they got the offensive lineman, got a cornerback. Did not get a linebacker. And I kind of think that that's maybe something they need, because I think Denny Trevathan is starting. He's starting to lose it a little bit here, and he's been also kind of injury prone as well. So I think Roquan Smith is good. I think he's a good young linebacker. I would like to see them keep him, but also if they need to trade him for to get more picks or something like that down the line, I would be okay with that as well. So, and I would really like to see them get rid of whatever the guy's name, Akeem Hicks. He's just really been down in my eyes. It's I'll say it. He's, for a big guy, he seems like such a softie. And not in the good ways, not where you're a big teddy bear. No, softy as in, he's sensitive. So But those are my Bears. Personally, I like it. Listen, I'm not one that is fan of, you taking offensive linemen early. I'm not one of some people. He's like, what? You're not fan? No, I don't think so. I think you take with your early picks, like your first and second round and your third round picks, you get guys that people can be happy about. You get skill positions, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. You get defensive guys, cornerbacks, pass rushers, things like that. And then you come around to once you get to the fourth round, that third day, then that's when you get your offensive lineman. You get your offensive lineman there in the fourth, on the third day. So, but I guess it's okay because they were able to get some other things. They were able to get like Khalil Herbert and Daz Newsome, and thank God for the compensatory picks. They were able to get those. Get those guys, but big. I guess the main thing in this draft is, of course, to get you got Justin Fields, and as long as you got Justin Fields, I guess everything's gonna be okay. Cincinnati Bengals are next. Their top needs: offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. It says here, Cincinnati's primary mission should be to give Joe Burrow a much better supporting cast than he had a year ago, from the front five to the skill position. Beyond that, the work of turning around a pass rush that produced a league-low 17 sacks in 2020 shouldn't end with the additions of Trey Hendrickson and Larry Ogunjobi. So let's see what they did. We talked about Jamar Chase. Second round, they got Jackson Carman, a guard from Clemson. Third round, Joseph Asai, an edge rusher from Texas. First pick in their fourth round pick, Cameron Sample, an edge rusher of Tulane. And the fourth round pick, Tyler Shelvin, defensive tackle from LSU. Fourth round pick, Deontay Smith, offensive tackle, East Carolina. The fifth round pick, kicker, Evan McPherson from Florida. Sixth round pick, Trey Hill, the center from Georgia. The second sixth round pick, Chris Evans, running back from Michigan. He should be, his nickname should be Captain America because it's Chris Evans. I mean, if he turns out to be even particularly somewhat good, his nickname should be Cap. Because Chris Evans is Captain America. Hey Cap, that should be his nickname. And his last pick in the seventh round, Wyatt Huber, defensive end of Kansas State. So they talked about their pass rush. They got two edge rushers. You got a D tackle and another defensive end. So they're definitely trying to fix their pass rush. The offensive line, they Deontay Smith and Jackson Carman. They got a center in Trey Hill. So they're trying to fix the offensive line. But yes, I think the big thing is Jamar Chase, another receiver to help, because AJ Green did leave. He went to Arizona, so they're replacing him with Jamar Chase, and it should be Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase for the next 15 years, hopefully, for Cincinnati, and hopefully that leads to a few Super Bowls for them. The Cleveland Browns. Their top needs: defensive line, cornerback, linebacker, offensive line, and safety. It says here, will it be an all-defense spring in Cleveland? The Browns' biggest weaknesses are on that side of the ball, with the need for a young pass rusher to develop behind Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Doing all this talking is crazy. 1 year deal. He's on a 1 year deal. Standing out. Offensive line is the strength of the team, but it would make sense to reinforce it with greater depth. What did they do? Talk about Greg Newsome in the first round. They got Jeremiah Okuzu-Koramoah, linebacker from Notre Dame. They went and got in the second round. Third round, Anthony Schwartz, wide receiver from Auburn. In the fourth round, they got James Hudson, a tackle from Cincinnati. And Tommy Tojai, defensive tackle from Ohio State. The fifth round picks, Tony Fields, the second, linebacker from West Virginia. And the second fifth round pick was Richard LeCounte, the third, a safety of Georgia. And their sixth round pick, the last pick, was Demetric Felton, UCLA. So they got some offensive line help. Looks maybe from James Hudson, Cincinnati, but I think they're gonna probably need more offensive line help. Well, actually, they don't need offensive line help as much. I'm thinking this was Cincinnati. This is Cleveland, so they don't need as much offensive line help. They were the number one offensive line in run and pass protection, so they didn't need too much help. I think they got the help on defense. They could, and we always forget that there's more free agency going to happen. So, still a lot more free agents out there that have not been signed. The Dallas Cowboys, their top needs: cornerback, offensive line, safety, defensive line, linebacker. Jerry Jones and Core have work to do at every level of the defense coming off a disastrous season. The business of keeping Dak Prescott upright and healthy is of the utmost importance, though. And with that, let's see what they did. First round, Michael Parsons, we talked about that. In round 2, Kevin Joseph, cornerback of Kentucky. Round 3, Osa is a digital wall, defensive tackle, UCLA. The second, third round pick, Chauncey Golson, defensive tackle, defensive end, Iowa. Third round pick, Deshaun Wright, cornerback, Ohio State. Round 4, first pick, Jabril Cox, LSU. Second pick in round 4, first offensive player, Josh Ball, offensive tackle, Marshall. So they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The seventh pick in the draft in round 4 that they took an offensive tackle, the first offensive player. And in round 5, they went with Simeon Fiecko, a wide receiver out of Stanford. In round 6, they went back to defense with Quentin Bohanna, defensive tackle, Kentucky. The second pick in round 6, they went with Israel Mukukamu, a cornerback out of South Carolina. And in round 7, the last pick, Matt Faranock, a guard out of Nebraska. So they went heavy on defense, and they knew they needed to go there heavy on defense. So the Dallas Cowboys look like they filled, at least they tried to fill each and every need that they had on defense, and it might work for them. We'll have to wait and see. The Denver Broncos, their top needs: quarterback, offensive line, linebacker, defensive line, running back. It says here Denver should be in the quarterback market even after trading for Teddy Bridgewater. I totally disagree. Who has 1 year left on his contract? A right tackle, a playmaking inside linebacker, and depth of the D-line and running back position should also be on the radar for George Patton and in his first draft as general manager. Go back to that first line. I disagree. You traded for Teddy Bridgewater. You traded for, and you had Drew Lock there. They're going to compete for the starting job. There's no need for Denver to get a quarterback. Unless they're going to trade for Aaron Rodgers. There's no need for Denver to get a quarterback in this draft. Let's see what they went ahead and get. You know, they got Pat Surtain first round. Second round, they went running back Javonte Williams from North Carolina, so that fits that thing. Third round, they went with Quinn Miners, center from Wisconsin Whitewater. The second, third round pick, they went with Baron Browning, a linebacker from Ohio State. That's who they drafted their linebacker. The next 2 picks in the 5th round were safeties: Caden Stearns from Texas and Jamar Johnson from Indiana. And fixing the backfield, especially because their guy they have a guy Justin Stevens or something like that. I forget who it is, but they hit the franchise tag, so I think they're gonna try to get his replacement, and they're not gonna pay all that much for his safety. They picked Seth Williams in the 6th round, wide receiver out of Auburn. 7th round, they had 3 picks. They went Kerry Vincent, cornerback LSU, Jonathan Cooper, defensive end Ohio State, and Marquise Spencer, defensive end Mississippi State. So they went defensive line late to fix that round, but I think they did a good job for the most part with them. Getting some of the things that they needed according to this analyst, but I disagree with the quarterback. They didn't need to do the quarterback, so I think that was something that was needed. So Detroit, top needs: wide receiver, linebacker, safety, cornerback, offensive line. Says here, doing right by QB1 Jared Goff means finding him a wide receiver one early in the draft. Alliance new decision makers also have the tall task of repairing a defense that broke under the previous regime. It's funny, you talk about the Detroit Lions. They were a 10-6 team that did not make the playoffs, I believe. They fired then coach, whatever. I forget his name. Actually, I thought of that, but I forget his name. But they didn't fire him. But then they hired Matt Patricia, and they went each and every year after what they did 3 years. They went down second. So now they have Dan Campbell. Let's see what he does. They picked Penei Sewell, the tackle from Oregon. They then went with Levi Onwuzurike, who's a defensive tackle from Washington. Some of these names, I tell you. I don't have any pronouncements or nothing like that. So, round 3, Elam McNeil from defensive tackle from North Carolina State. Another 3rd round pick, it fell to Melon-Fanawu, cornerback for Syracuse. In the 4th round, they went with Amaron St. Brown, the wide receiver from USC, and then they went with Derek Barnes, linebacker from Purdue, for their 4th round pick, and then the last pick was a 7th round pick, a running back from Oregon State, Jamar Jefferson. So it looks like they didn't go the way that these people think that their needs are, but it's again, there's also a whole bunch of other things. I believe the Lions went and got Sage Surratt, who did not go drafted. His brother did, but I think they went and got Sage Surratt as a wide receiver for drafting free agents. So the Green Bay Packers. So let's talk about this, right? Draft day was sitting there and watching, and a thing comes up on the screen, and Adam Schefter is reporting that Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. What? They say that he has been over it, and he wants to go. And then we get reports out. We get so many other reports. Some people are saying that it's contract related, and some people are saying that it's not. It's not contract related. Some Trey Ringo reported that it was possibly because that the Packers told him that they were going to trade him, and then reneged on that, in the offseason, and that's why he has decided that he wants to leave, and there's a rumor that he wants the Brian Gutekunst, the GM, he wants him fired before he comes back. He doesn't want so it's such a interesting work that's happening in Green Bay. And again, this seems to stem to come from last year's draft, when they drafted Jordan Love in the 1st round instead of someone to to help to wide receiver. And while I can understand that, the drafting of the wide receiver, I also understand them looking to get, try to get better. Because look what happened. I mean, Aaron Rodgers still took his team to another championship game. It took the team to another championship game. So, and they're just following what they did several years ago with Brett Favre. And then here's an interesting stat that I think, again, that you might want to know. Bart Starr, Brett Favre, all played 16 years. They played 16 years before then Bart Starr retired, and I think Brett Favre was traded to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is in his 16th year. So, he just finished his 16th year. He's going on year 17. So, very well could be a thing. We'll see what's happening with Aaron Rodgers, what he does. Their top needs: cornerback, defensive line, offensive line, linebacker, wide receiver. The resigning of Kevin King on a one-year deal shouldn't keep the Packers from investing in a young cornerback who can challenge for a starting job. Green Bay's shopping list includes a disruptor for the defensive line and offensive line depth too. Let's see what they went and did. They got Eric Stokes, cornerback from Georgia; Josh Myers, center from Ohio State; Amari Rodgers, wide receiver from Clemson; Royce Newman, guard from Mississippi; T-Darrell Slayton, defensive tackle from Florida; Shamar John Charles something. I don't know why they abbreviated it. Cornerback from Appalachian State; Cole Van Lane, a good guard from Wisconsin, stays at home; Isaiah McDuffie, linebacker from Boston College; and Kylan Hill, running back from Mississippi State. And if that name sounds familiar, Kylan Hill is the guy who, at Mississippi State, said that he was not going to play for Mississippi State, because as long as they had the Confederate flag on their state flag, and that led a charge for Mississippi to change their flag, which it did. They took off the Confederate flag off of the Mississippi State, off of the state of Mississippi flag. So, and then he goes and he plays a few games and opts out anyway. So, but whatever. So, but yeah, I think they fill some holes and things like that. But the big thing here is going to be about Aaron Rodgers. And what are they going to do with Aaron Rodgers? Are they going to call Aaron Rodgers bluff, or are they going to trade him over the next 3 months? Will we see, opening day, the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers or without Aaron Rodgers? It's going to be a fun summer. I'll tell you that, especially as a Bears fan. About time the Packers get something bad happen to them. How do you go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers back to back? No. Anyway, let's move on. Speaking of quarterback drama, the Houston Texans. You know what is going on with Deshaun Watson, and not only him wanting a trade and things like that, but now with the 21 lawsuits of improper conduct during massages. Houston police are now looking into it from a criminal standpoint as well. So a lot of stuff that's going on with the Houston Texans. Their needs: wide receiver, defensive line, safety, linebacker, cornerback. With no picks in the first 2 rounds, the Texans enter the draft with a lot of work to do and limited capital to draw from. The lack of a number 1 wide receiver is glaring. There's also needs amongst everywhere you look on a defense that was one of the league's most porous in 2020. So what did they do? They had 5 picks. Their first pick, they went with Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford. Yeah, they've got Tyrod Taylor there, to be the starter, in case, what's his face, Deshaun Watson doesn't play, and nobody thinks Deshaun Watson is going to play for anywhere because of this situation happening with him. They don't think he's going to play anywhere. He will be put on the commissioner's exempt list, before the season starts or something like that. So you don't think he's going to play. So they drafted Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford. They got the next pick, also in the 3rd round, Nico Collins, wide receiver out of Michigan. So there's your number 1 receiver maybe. In the 5th round, Brevin Jordan, tight end out of Florida. So there you go right there. Then you get another 5th round pick in Garrett Wallow, a linebacker at TCU. And then in the 6th round, you get Rory Lopez, defensive tackle from Arizona. So they only had 5 picks. They probably did the best that they could with those 5 picks. And Houston Texans are probably going to be they're probably going to be horrible again. They're going to be bad once again. They may be the one with number 1 overall pick next year in the draft. And with that one next year, they'll probably draft Sam Howell, who is right now the number 1 quarterback coming out next year. But there are many other things that they could probably do as well. And who knows what quarterback will step up and become a this league world player. I mean, who knew Mac Jones was gonna be Mac Jones this year? So next, the Indianapolis Colts. Top needs: offensive line, defensive line, tight end, cornerback, wide receiver. Here's what it says. GM Chris Ballard has added depth to an offensive tackle position since Anthony Casano announced his retirement after the season, but he should still be in the market for a potential long-term answer on the blind side. On the other side of the trenches, teams' young elite edge rushers have failed to break out thus far, which is why Ballard could go back to the well again in 2021. Let's see what Ballard did. He started off with Kwity Paye, the edge rusher. And then 2nd round, he got Dayo Odeyingbo, defensive end Vanderbilt. And by the way, I don't know if for somehow if any of these people out here are listening to this, I'm sorry I am messing your name up. I really truly am. I am so sorry. I'm trying my best. Round 4, they get Kylan Granson, tight end from Southern Methodist. Round 5, they got Sean Davis, the safety from Florida. Round 6, they drafted Sam Ehlinger, quarterback from Texas. In round 7, the first pick was Mike. I want to say Strahan. Mike Strachan, wide receiver from Charleston in West Virginia, and then the round 7 pick from a guard from Penn State, Will Fry. Real French fries. That would be Boomer's pick. Well, they drafted Will French Fries, or French Will Fries, or something like that. So Boomer should still do the draft. He really should. I know the last couple years they went with Trey Wingo. They should have had Mike Greenberg. I love Trey Wingo. I didn't have any problem with Mike Greenberg. But the draft is Boomer's baby. He's the one that did it, and unless he doesn't want to do it, I don't think So I kind of had the feeling that maybe he was pushed out at ESPN, but also maybe he decided that he wanted to relax. So yeah, but I miss Boomer. But yeah, that we probably would have called him Real French Fries. Jacksonville. Let's go here. Their top needs: quarterback, cornerback, offensive line, defensive line, tight end. It says, after scratching the first need off the list with this year's top draft pick, the Jaguars can turn their attention to finding a pass-catching weapon at tight end and supplementing a defense that has some major holes plugged via free agency. And I think that's what they did, obviously. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. They got the quarterback. They got a home run hitting running back, possibly, who can not only catch the ball but can run the ball. In the 2nd round, they went Tyson Campbell, cornerback out of Georgia. Another 2nd round pick, Walker Little, offensive tackle from Stanford. 3rd round, they went Andre Cisco, safety from Syracuse. In the 4th round, they went Jay Tulefele, a defensive tackle from USC. Their fourth round pick, they went Jordan Smith, an edge rusher from Alabama Birmingham. In the fifth round, they went with Luke Farrell, tight end from Ohio State, who Urban Meyer would know a whole lot about. And in the sixth round, they went with Jalen Camp, a wide receiver from Georgia Tech. So it looks like they went ahead and they tried to fill some needs. Offensive quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, tight end, and cornerback. So it looks like they, this almost stacks up to what they went with, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see what they're gonna do in the future. I think again, like I said, I think they should really start from the beginning with Trevor Lawrence. Start him from the beginning, and to see where it goes. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs. The AFC champions. Top needs are the defensive line, the cornerback, the offensive line, wide receiver, and tight end. Coach Andy Reid and GM Brett Veach have remade much of the offensive line this offseason, leaving an edge rushing complement for Frank Clark and help at cornerback as the team's most pressing needs. A complimentary tight end with the ability to block and make catches will be a luxurious add behind Travis Kelce. Now, I believe they got that. So let's look. They only had 6 picks. Second round, they went with Nick Bowden, linebacker out of Missouri. In the second pick, they went with Creed Humphrey, a center from Oklahoma. In the fourth round, they went with Joshua Kando, a defensive end from Florida. From round 5, first pick, tight end Noah Gray from Duke. That's that tight end. I remember watching that when they picked him. Round 5, Cornell Paul, wide receiver from Clemson. And in round 6, Trey Smith, a guard from Tennessee. So they did some offensive line. They got some. They got a linebacker and a defensive end, and got their tight end. Got another wide receiver as well. So it looks like again, their needs, according to this NFL.com thing, were almost met completely. So Good on them. It's all about Patrick Mahomes and keeping him upright and healthy. And if you can do that, he'll get the ball to Travis Kelce, to his other guys, Hill and Hardman, and they lost Watkins, but then they get another receiver back as well. So it's all about that. What's his face was looking very happy, tweeting out a smile emoji when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. So looks like they did a good thing. Los Angeles Chargers. Top needs: offensive line, cornerback, tight end, safety, defensive line. The Chargers have their new franchise quarterback, and he's spectacular. They should make protecting him a priority come draft time. But GM Tom Telesco also has to find reinforcements for a sending secondary and that tight end, where Jared Cook is a short-term fix. Let's see what they did. We talked about Rashawn Slater. In the second round, they went with Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State, cornerback. Round 3, first pick, Josh Palmer, wide receiver, Tennessee, and Trey McKitty, tight end out of Georgia. Round 4, they went with Chris Rump II, an edge rusher from Duke. In round 5, they went with Brendan James, that's how it's pronounced when he was drafted, offensive tackle in North Nebraska. I remember seeing that too. Round 6, they went with Nick Niemann, linebacker out of Iowa. And then also Larry Roundtree was third, running back from Missouri. And then round 7, they went Mark Webb, a safety from Georgia. So we'll see what happens to Los Angeles Chargers. They're in that division with Patrick Mahomes, and then Las Vegas Raiders are there as well. And Denver Broncos if they do get what's face Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be an incredible, division to watch. They're going to be as good as the AFC West will be just as good as the NFC West was. Speaking of NFC West, the Los Angeles Rams are next. Their needs: offensive line, cornerback, linebacker, defensive line, wide receiver. Sean McVay's club should be eyeing the available prospects at tackle and on the interior of the O-line, but there are some significant holes to fill on defense as well, after the departures of Michael Brockers and Troy Hill, among others. So let's see what they got here. They drafted Tutu Atwell from wide receiver from Louisville in the second round. Third round, Ernest Jones, linebacker from South Carolina. In the fourth round, they went with Bobby Brown, defensive tackle at Texas A&M, Robert Rochelle, quarterback from Central Arkansas, and Jacob Harris, a wide receiver from Central Florida. Fifth round, Ernest Brown IV from Northwestern, a defensive end. In the seventh round, they went Jake Funk, running back from Maryland, Ben Skronik, a wide receiver from Notre Dame, and Chris Garrett, edge rusher from Concordia St. Paul. Ben Skronik was really he was really good in Notre Dame this year. He's a big guy. He's 6'3", 6'4". He can jump up and go get the ball. He was big for Ian Book, especially down the stretch of the season. You could go to him, and he could also break some tackles, and we'll see how good he is. And just some 3 receivers, more help for Matt Stafford. And this is Matt Stafford's turn too. Now a lot of people think that Matt Stafford is this very, very talented and very great quarterback who was in, La La Land in Detroit. So now he's in the true La La Land in Los Angeles. So we need to see if that's correct. If is Matthew Stafford who maybe we think he is, just a little bit better version of Jay Cutler. The stats are very similar. Quarterback rating and completion percentage and things like that. Obviously, Matthew Stafford's playing longer, so he's gonna have more yards and stuff. But is he just that? Just a little bit better with Jay Cutler, or is he someone who should be like an elite? Who's an elite quarterback who just was put down by the place he was playing in. So that's something that we're going to find out, I think, very quickly when it comes to the Los Angeles Rams, and we'll also see, were they better or not without our man Jared Goff. So the Las Vegas Raiders, top needs: offensive line, safety, linebacker, defensive line, cornerback. Trading away Trent Brown opened up a large hole at right tackle for the Raiders, who have to make some significant upgrades on defense if they're ever going to hump and get over the hump, and get back into the playoffs. We're talking about Alex Leatherwood. The second round was Trevor Morrig, safety out of TSU. Third round was Malcolm Kuntz, edge rusher out of Buffalo. They made a very funny thing about the draft. They couldn't make on the draft. They drafted Malcolm Kuntz from Buffalo, who was in the same place. Who came from the same place as Khalil Mack did, and John Gruden traded Khalil Mack. So I thought that was pretty funny. They also made Divine Diablo, safety from Virginia Tech, in the third round. Fourth round, they went with Tyreek Gillespie, safety from Missouri. In round 5, they went with Nate Hobbs, cornerback from Illinois. And in the seventh round, they went with Jimmy Morrissey, a center from Pittsburgh. So we'll see what what goes down with them, because I would agree that they need to somehow, they need to get over the hump. They should be always fighting for the playoffs, but this is I think this is what they really wanted when they wanted parity. Because I think these teams are good. A lot of these teams are good teams. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are a good team. They just can't get over the hump. And something like that. And I think that goes for a lot of other teams as well. I think we're going to see this next team right here, Miami Dolphins. Can Miami Dolphins get over the hump and make the playoffs? Or are they gonna, or like or is once again the AFC North is gonna ramshack and take all the spots? So we'll need to see that. But the Miami Dolphins, their top needs: wide receiver, defensive line, offensive line, running back, linebacker. This is what it says. The offense was decidedly not explosive when Tua Tagovailoa was at the helm in 2020. But with a little more seasoning and better weaponry on the perimeter, the second-year signal caller would have South Beach rocking. Brian Flores' defense requires attention too. But with the Dolphins seeking to replace the pass rush production that left town with Shaq Lawson and Kyle Van Noy. Yeah, so they lost some people on defense. We talked about their picks, Waddle and Phillips, in the first round. Second round, they went with Javon Holland, a safety out of Oregon, and Liam Eichenberg, an offensive tackle from Notre Dame. You get some protection for Tua Tagovailoa. And don't forget, Tua Tagovailoa is left-handed, so the right tackle is now going to be protecting Tua's blind side, and they predict Liam Eichenberg, who played left tackle Notre Dame, to be a right tackle in the NFL. But if he plays right tackle, he will be Tua's Tua's blind side. So watch out for that. In the third round, they took Hunter Long, the tight end out of Boston College. I guess maybe they might do some 2 tight end sets there with him and Mike Gesicki there. And they didn't have a pick until the 7th round, in which they took Lonnell Coleman, offensive tackle of Massachusetts, and Jared Dokes, running back from Cincinnati. But that is not the case, because Miami Dolphins have picks up the wazoo the next 2 years. So, even though they didn't have a lot, they didn't have much going on after the third round, They had picks up the wazoo the next few years, so they should not be worried. They will still have the opportunity to build their team and continue to build their team, and we'll see where they're at. And I think the biggest thing here is that I think this season they're going to try and see if Tua Tagovailoa is the guy that should be. And if he is, then that's great. And if he isn't, then as well they get a quarterback next year. And if he's somewhere in the middle, then you go one more year. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do think sometimes teams give up on the quarterbacks way too often, and I think that's something that that probably needs to stop. The Minnesota Vikings are next. Their offense and their top needs: offensive line, defensive line, safety, linebacker, and quarterback. Yeah, Minnesota Vikings. It is plainly obvious the Vikings have to prioritize left tackle in the 2021 NFL Draft, and Mike Zimmer's defense could use a boost at every level after a nightmarish 2020 campaign. So they got that offensive tackle with Christian Darrisaw. In round 3, they got their quarterback in Kellen Mond. Also in round 3, Chaz Surratt, a linebacker from North Carolina. I mentioned earlier about Sage Surratt, who was a undrafted free agent signed by the Lions. They're twins. And another third-round pick, Wyatt Davis, Ohio State, and their fourth third-round pick, Patrick Jones, edge rusher from Pittsburgh. And you look in the fourth round. Listen, Minnesota had so many picks in this draft, and they better do something with all of these guys. Fourth round, 3 picks: Kenny Nagakuku, wide receiver, running back from Iowa State; Cameron Bynum, cornerback from California; Janarius Robinson, another edge rusher from Florida State. So they are looking to rush the passer big time. In round 5, 2 picks: Emir Smith, something, wide receiver from Iowa State. They really need to stop this ... Give me the full name. And number 5, Zach Davison, tight end from Central Missouri. And their last pick was in round 6, Jalen Tywinman, defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. So listen, they went and got everything. I don't know. They got the linebacker. They got the safety, right? Did they get a safety? No, they did not get a safety. Okay, but they got the defensive line. They got the offensive line. They got the quarterback. They got the linebacker. So very good job from Minnesota Vikings. Now it's all time for Mike Zimmer and his staff to put all that stuff together. So I think you got a quarterback of the future. I think that's exactly what you do. You play with Kirk Cousins. I can't say his name. Kirk Cousins. You play with him, until his contract runs out, and then you hand the ball over to Kellen Mond, and then you see what he can do. If Mike Zimmer is still there, Mike Zimmer is kind of what I talked about Bears and then Bears hot seat. I think Mike Zimmer might be on a bit of a hot seat as well. I mean, you paid all that money for Kirk Cousins, and it hasn't. You went to one playoff. You won a playoff game, but you only gone to one playoff. So that needs to change this year, I think, for Minnesota. Next, the New England Patriots. Let's look what Bill Belichick and his guys did. His needs: quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, defensive line. In Kent Newton and Jared Stidham, the Patriots have 2 quarterbacks, but no clear long-term answer at the position. Whoever's under center deserves a better collection of talent at wide receiver. We talked about Mac Jones. That's the guy. And then second round, they went with Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, Alabama. Round 3, they picked Ronnie Perkins, an edge rusher from Oklahoma. Round 4, Rahamahan Stevens, running back from Oklahoma. Round 5, Cameron McGrone, linebacker from Michigan. Round 6, Joshua Bledsoe, safety Missouri. Round 6, Will Sherman, offensive tackle Colorado. And round 7, Trey Nixon, wide receiver, USC. So, but the big one thing here is Mac Jones, and that's the one here. They did all their work in free agency. The Mac Jones here at the draft pick. I think sure Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, and maybe even Ronnie Perkins as the edge rusher could be hits as well. But this is about Mac Jones and whether Mac Jones will become the quarterback of the future, whether they become their new Tom Brady or not. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, but then we're gonna have some questions about Bill Belichick, I think. The New Orleans Saints were next. Top needs: cornerback, wide receiver, defensive line, linebacker, and tight end. Here it is. Be it a result of Sean Payton's faith in Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, or the Saints' position in the draft order, perhaps a little bit of both. It seems unlikely that the team will, select Drew Brees less in this year's draft. Instead, New Orleans' early focus could be filling on the void at cornerback and selecting targets to complement Michael Thomas. Now, they did select a quarterback. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's what we did. We know Peyton Turner was the first round pick. Second round pick was Pete Warner, linebacker, Ohio State. The third round pick was Paulson Adebo, the cornerback from Stanford. In the fourth round, they took Ian Book from Notre Dame. Round 6, Landon Young, Kentucky, and in round 7, Kaywan Baker, wide receiver from South Alabama. And here's why the Ian Book pick, I think, is a good one. I think Ian Book, has some physical disability. I don't want to say physical disability. That sounds like he's, that's polio or something. But, his arm strength isn't as probably like normal NFL arm strength, right? It's good, and it's maybe good for college, not as good for the NFL. He is a mobile quarterback, and I think he's a very smart guy, and things like that. But maybe the arm strength isn't what is working. But in Sean Payton's system, you don't need an arm. You don't need a super arm. And Drew Brees proved that the last 5 years of his career when his arm strength. But he didn't have the strongest arm to begin with. But he continued to throw for 5,000 yards. And Ian Book have that one. So I think that's a good place for him to go. A good place for him to learn under the learning tree. Unless you got Taysom Hill there, you got Jameis Winston there. I personally think that Taysom Hill is probably going to win the starting job. I just think Sean Payton, likes it. He may already have it in his mind that even though Jameis Winston may play better, Taysom Hill is at least going to start at least one. And then Ian Book, and so I think Ian Book going down there is a perfect one. I think if he stays there, 1 or 2 years and is great, then I think he becomes, and also I think he becomes a certified maybe chance to be a starting quarterback, at least for New Orleans. But I love that pick for Ian Book. As a Notre Dame fan, I'm glad to see him get picked. Glad to see him go to a place like New Orleans, where they will give him every opportunity to succeed. Next, the New York Giants. Their top needs: linebacker, offensive line, wide receiver, running back, defensive line. It says a stud edge rusher could be a huge difference maker for Joe Judge's defense. On the other side of the ball, we could be on the verge of witnessing a Daniel Jones breakthrough if GM Dave Gettleman finds the third-year quarterback another playmaker and improved protection. He did not find him any protection. Found him a playmaker in Kadarius Toney. Here's what they got him though. They got Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher out of Georgia. In the second round, third round, Aaron Robinson, a cornerback out of USC. Fourth round, Ellerson G. Smith. That sounds like one of those, like Fred G. Sanford. You know what I mean? It sounds like Fred G. Sanford. Ellerson C. Smith. Edge rusher out of Northern Iowa. Gary in the sixth round, 2 picks, in their last 2 picks of the draft. Gary Brightwell, running back from Arizona, and Rodarius Williams, cornerback from Oklahoma State. So did not get him any offensive linemen, did not get any linebackers really, although maybe the 2 edge rushers could be outside linebackers, that rush the passer. So yeah, so we'll see. Dave Gettleman always has more work to do. And I will say this: why would you need a running back? In case you In case Saquon Barkley gets hurt again, I wouldn't say their needs are running back. The other New York team, the New York Jets, their top needs: quarterback, cornerback, offensive line, defensive line, and tight end. Says here, yes, there are more than 5 pressing areas of concern for the Jets. No, we didn't forget about running back. GM Joe Douglas's top task is making a decision at quarterback. From there, he's charged with building up a mostly unproven group of cornerbacks and giving his passer a much improved supporting cast. So he got Zach Wilson, he got Vera Tucker. He picked Elijah Moore, a speedy receiver, in the second round from Mississippi. He got Michael Carter, a running back from North Carolina, who should be good in the 4th round. 5th round, he took Jimmy Sherwood, safety from Auburn. In the 5th round, he picked another Michael Carter II, from cornerback from Duke. There's no relation between him and the Michael Carter, the running back that they took. That's going to be confusing. Well, actually, it won't be confusing like on the jerseys because you'll have Carter second and Michael Carter, and they both play off of the defense. So, but you know what I mean. It could be confusing. Also in the 5th round, he took Jason Pinnock, cornerback from Pittsburgh. Round 6, which includes their last 3 picks of Hamasan Naradilian, a safety from Florida State, Brendan Eccles, a cornerback from Kentucky, and Jonathan Marshall, a defensive tackle from Arkansas. So they did fill some needs there. Cornerback, quarterback, some offensive line help, some wide receivers, got a running back, a tight end. They didn't get the tight end, and didn't get too much of a defensive line help as well. You picked the last pick, they got a defensive line. But I really think this is about like Zach Wilson and the offense, and make sure you got someone to protect Zach Wilson, someone for him to throw to, someone for him to hand the ball off to. And then, if you need to come back next year and fix your defense, fine. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach, but if in a league that's offensively minded, you needed to work out on your offense. And that's what the Jets did. The Philadelphia Eagles are next. Their top needs: wide receiver, cornerback, offensive line, linebacker, and defensive line. It says here that Philly just picked a wide receiver in the 1st round last year, Jalen Reagor, but it's in the market for another young talent at the position after parting ways with Sean Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey. There are pressing needs in the secondary for GM Harry Roseman too. So let's say this. Like I said, they got Devontae Smith in the 1st round, the Heisman Trophy winner. In the 2nd round, they went with Landon Dickerson, a center from Alabama. The 3rd round, Milton Williams, defensive tackle from Louisiana Tech. In the 4th round, Zach McPherson, a cornerback from Texas Tech. In the 5th round, they went Kenneth Gainwell, running back from Memphis. In the 6th round, they went with Marion Tuipulotu from USC, defensive tackle, Terrion Jackson, defensive end from Coastal Carolina, and Jacoby Stevens, a safety from LSU. And in the 7th round, with their final pick, they took Patrick Johnson, edge rusher from Tulane. So they went ahead and they got some stuff. They got some defensive help. They got some offensive help. And it's time. And the Nick Sirianni says that it's going to be a competition between Jalen Hurts and whoever else is there at quarterback. But Jalen Hurts should be the guy, and it should be Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith. And let's see if Jalen Hurts can if he is the quarterback of the future, or is within next year they need to get a quarterback as well. So, but Philly looks like they did a good job filling their needs in the draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Top needs: offensive line, running back, linebacker, cornerback, and tight end. With time likely running low on the remainder of Ben Roethlisberger's career, the Steelers' main focus in the draft should be bolstering an offensive line that will be replacing at least 2 starters, Marquise Pouncey and Matt Filer, and injecting life into a running game that ranked dead as a season ago. Now, James Conner, I believe he left. He's in Arizona, I believe. And we talked about Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama. So they went second round. They went Pat Freiermuth, tight end from Penn State. Third round, Kendrick Green, the guard from Illinois. In the fourth round, they took Dan Moore Jr., offensive tackle from A&M, and the linebacker Buddy Johnson from Texas A&M. In the fifth round, they took Isaiah Loudermilk, defensive end from Wisconsin. Sixth round, they took Quincy Roche, an edge rusher from Miami. In the seventh round, they took Trey Norwood, cornerback from Oklahoma, and also Presley Harvin III, a punter from Georgia Tech. Punters are kickers too. People too, just like you guys don't like the sales. So yes, they were there, and they did some stuff. They got their offensive line to fix that because Ben Roethlisberger was sacked a lot. They got a running back maybe to run the power game, even though this is a passing league. But they are the Steelers. It's almost like the Steelers are almost like the Bears. They're known for their defense and their running game. So to not run the ball is almost like a sin sometimes. But the thing is that Ben Roethlisberger has been there in Pittsburgh for almost 20 years, 16, 17 years now. The Bears have not had a quarterback. So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a little bit more forgiving when they don't run the ball like they did in the past. But with Roethlisberger probably should be on his last year. They may go more back. They may go to more of a running game and focus and to try to take pressure off of Ben Roethlisberger, as he's probably now he's almost going back to where he was as a rookie, where he really should just be the guy that doesn't try to mess it up. So now let's see who's next. The San Francisco 49ers. Trey Lance, we know we talked about here. That's number one need, a quarterback for the 49ers. They also need a cornerback, defensive line, offensive line, tight end. So here's what it says: the Niners spared no expense to move up on the draft board, situating themselves in a spot where they'll be able to land Jimmy Garoppolo's eventual successor. Next up on the to-do list, replenishing the depth at corner and on the defensive line. A little more insurance behind George Kittle wouldn't hurt either. They were full of injuries last year. I think if everybody's healthy and everybody's saying this is another good team that could go to the Super Bowl. Trey Lance we know about. In the second round, Aaron Banks, guard from Notre Dame. In the third round, Trey Sermon, running back of Ohio State. This is the guy that ran for 300 some yards against Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. So they got another running back to go with Mostert and Coleman and all their other running backs. It's a place where they definitely don't believe in a one back system. They believe you spread the talent around. The third round pick is Ambry Thomas, a cornerback from Michigan. In the fifth round, they got Jalen Moore, the offensive tackle from Western Michigan, and also Diamador Lenore, a cornerback from Oregon. And another fifth round pick, Talanoa Hufanga, safety from USC. And their last pick was in the sixth round, Eli Mitchell, another running back from Louisiana Lafayette. Damn, they just got they didn't play the fucking option. I'm not sure what they're gonna do, but it's crazy. So, but again, this all depends on their health. If they are healthy, and they have sustained health, this should be a team that once again is fighting for an opportunity to go to play in the Super Bowl. I think that Kyle Shanahan is a great coach and is a wonderful quarterback whisperer. So let's go, San Francisco. Let's go. Let's show some people something. Seattle. Top needs: cornerback, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, wide receiver. Seattle was very limited So with little draft capital this year, but it still has an opportunity to find a cornerback or a lineman from on either side of the ball who can compete for a starting job. We know that. Oh my God! And they only had 3 picks this year. They only had 3 picks this year. Hell. So in the second round, they had Dwayne Eskridge, wide receiver from Western Michigan. 4th round, they had Trey Brown, a cornerback from Oklahoma. And in the 6th round, they took Stone Forsythe, an offensive tackle from Florida. But my God, how do you have 3 picks? Oh my God. No wonder Russell Wilson was thinking about trying to get a trade out of Seattle. Well, and the people have only had 3 picks this year. But that's really the biggest story. It's not what's happening with the draft. It's whether or not the stuff with Russell Wilson. I don't think it's as bad as it is with Aaron Rodgers, or is as bad as it is with Houston and Watson. But I think there's something there, and I think Russell Wilson is maybe a little bit tired of it, and he says, hey, listen, come on, I'm a superstar quarterback, man. Why are we trying to play old time football and just run the ball? He won't let Russ cook. But I think what Russell Wilson has to look at is that for a while there, let Russ cook was working, but Russ went to the bathroom and and left the stove on and burnt the shit. So they had to dial it back a little bit. I think that's what Russell Wilson has to really look at. But this is what it's all about. It's all about trying to get Russell Wilson healthy, and maybe there's still a lot of time before the season for them to get the things working for Russ and them. The Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here are their top needs: linebacker, offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, and quarterback. In case the Bucs do ever lose one of their top free agents, they might want to be prepared with some younger, cheaper players for the trenches. Tampa Bay has an inevitable collection of receivers, but Chris Godwin is playing on the 1-year franchise tender. This will also be a fine time to begin grooming a young QB behind. They say GOAT. He's not the GOAT. Peyton Manning is the GOAT. I don't know how many times I have to tell you all this. So, and they did. We talked about Joe Chiron, first round pick. Second round pick, they got Kyle Trask. They got the guy who was going to be there for behind Brady. He's quarterback from Florida. In round 3, they went with Robert Hainsley, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. In round 4, they went with Jalen Darden, the wide receiver from North Texas. In round 5, KJ Britt, a linebacker from Auburn. In round 7, they went with Chris Wilcox, a cornerback from Brigham Young, and the Mr. Irrelevant pick, Grant Stewart, linebacker out of Houston. So, Tampa Bay, again, should still be in the mix unless Brady has another fall off. But I would expect Tampa Bay to be in the mix for the NFC South and also for the potential for the NFC. But to be honest with you, I just I don't know how you're gonna let this guy continue on doing what he's doing. I really don't. Tennessee Titans are next. Their top needs: offensive line, wide receiver, cornerback, tight end, and safety. The Titans' search for a right tackle continues after the Isaiah Wilson debacle, and the same goes for help at receiver. Even the signing of Josh Reynolds. Replacing Jonnu Smith is on the to-do list, and adding pieces to a secondary that is undergoing significant turnover this offseason. Let's see what they did. You know about Caleb Farley in the first round. Dylan Redunz, the offensive tackle from North Dakota State, was in the second round pick. 2 third-round picks: Monty Rice, linebacker from Georgia, and Elijah Molden, cornerback from Washington. 2 fourth-round picks as well: Des Fitzpatrick, wide receiver from Louisville, and Rashad Weaver, defensive end of Pittsburgh. And 2 sixth-round picks for the final picks of the draft: Racy McMath, wide receiver out of LSU, and Brady Breeze, a safety out of Oregon. So they went hard on the wide receiver after Corey Davis signed with the Jets, I believe. So they went hard on the wide receiver, and they got the offensive tackle. Drew played to talk about the Isaiah Wilson debacle. They got that, and they went back hard on cornerback as well. So this is a team that you don't count them out yet. Ryan Tannehill doesn't get a lot of love, but he's a damn good quarterback. I think his second stop has turned him into one. And of course, they still got the guy Derrick Henry, the monster. 2,000 yards last year. We'll see what he do this year. We'll see if he has any effect, from last year, if that anything like that affects them. But Tennessee should also still be in the mix, but they're gonna have to battle the Indianapolis Colts, for that division. And finally, the Washington football team. What did Washington football team need? An offensive line, a linebacker, a tight end, a safety, and a quarterback. Let's see what they say. Taking a flyer on a late round quarterback could make sense for the football team, but Washington seems fairly satisfied with its Ryan Fitzpatrick-led group of passers heading into the 2021 season. There's still a gaping void at left tackle that hasn't been adequately addressed since Trent Williams exited, though. So, they went with Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky, in the first round. Let's see these other picks. In the second round, it was Sam Cosmi, offensive tackle from Texas. In the third round, 2 picks: Benjamin St. Juste, a cornerback from Minnesota, and Diami Brown, a wide receiver from North Carolina. In the fourth round, John Bates, tight end from Boise State. In the fifth round, Derek Forrest, safety from Cincinnati. In the sixth round, here's the deal we're talking about: Cameron Cheeseman, the long snapper from Michigan. They went back to back, almost the long snapper. She's incredible. In the seventh round, 3 picks: Will Bradley King, a defensive end of Baylor; Shaka Toney, an edge rusher from Penn State; and Dax Milne, a wide receiver from Brigham Young. So there we have it. They did not take a quarterback. They're going to let Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Henneke, and whoever else they have be their quarterbacks. And we'll see. I think once again this may be one of those things where Washington is looking to be a defensive team, first team, and let the offense just not screw it up, and hope that Ryan Fitzpatrick can have one of his own years. So yeah, that is it for the team by team recap of the 2021. Alright guys, my final thought. First off, it was so good to have people back at the draft. Remember last year we did the virtual draft, and as good as it was of a show, it just it didn't feel right. It felt good to have people go to a stage and announce the draft and have fans there, and have the fans, there really wasn't any fans. It was that one fan, I forget, I don't know, the New York Giants pick. I don't know if it was the Kadarius Toney pick or the second round pick, but the New York Giants fan was like, who? What? So, but otherwise, there wasn't really no big fan things there. Although the Macho Man, there's a guy there in the Cleveland Browns gear with the Macho Man, and he was, ooh yeah, and he was doing all that stuff, and he had stole the show on day 2. So, but yeah, it was just glad to have it back, and I loved it. The draft is one of my favorite times of the year. I love it. It's incredible. I be honest with you, I kind of wish they would go back to the old school way of having the first 3 rounds on Saturday and then have the last on Sunday. But they're going to make this for TV and everything like that. So it is what it is. I wouldn't mind it as if they did maybe it was the first round was on Friday night. I wouldn't mind that. I think if you could have the draft first round be on Friday night, do rounds 2, 3, and 4 on Saturday, and then 5, 6, and 7 on Sunday, then yeah, I think that might be the best way to go about it. Best way to do it. If you want to do it in prime time. Yeah, I think it was fun. I think a lot of teams are get better, but really this I think this is going to be the draft of the quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Who will be a bust? Who will be good? Who will be great? And everything in between. A lot of other things. Will Kyle Trask, replace Brady? Will Davis Mills replace Deshaun Watson? What's going to happen with that? And then, of course, all the stuff would happen with Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be his historic draft for many reasons possible. So, and I can't wait to see how it all turns out. I wonder if we'll be sitting here 20 years from now saying that was the greatest draft of all time. And there's no way to find out. There's no way to know. But the part of me that says that there is. I think I would put a nice amount of money, maybe like $100 on the fact that this is going to be rivaled with the '83 draft. I'm going to put that out there right now. I think this could be rivaled with the '83 draft. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. I know this is probably my longest podcast ever. But damn, thank you guys so much for listening. If you listen to all of this, I truly do appreciate it so much. You have no idea. And if you want to support me and support this podcast, there are many ways to do it. You can go to the show page on my home page, anchor.fm, Andre's Triplet Show. There are places where you can subscribe. You can subscribe to like for 99 cents, for $4.99, and for $9.99. Now you don't get any perks along with it or anything like that, but this is just you showing your love for me by subscribing. Or you can go to patron.com/AJTRIP and become a patron. There you do get perks. Once I hit a certain amount of patrons, you will be able to determine what you see on my YouTube channel over at youtube.com/ATriplet20. What video games I play on my Twitch channel, twitch.com/ATriplet20. And of course, what topics I talk about here. Even though this is a sports podcast, I will, if you want me to talk about politics, if you want me to talk about pop culture, if you want me to talk about cats, I would, for my patrons, I would do that, or I would even maybe start another I would maybe make another podcast or something like that. Who knows? But I would do that. So by doing that, you go by going to patron.com/AJTrip. Yeah, football season is just a short time away. Next podcast is coming up in the next couple of weeks. As we learn the NBA playoffs, we'll do that. We'll talk about what has went down in this first third or first quarter of the Major League Baseball series. We'll once again talk about any news that's happening from now until the next podcast happens with the NFL, and anything else that happens in the world of sports that is big and bad. We'll talk about that as well, and maybe even a little wrestling too. Who knows? So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. This is your boy AJ Trip signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there, and I am out.